morning, everyone, and welcome to our time together. I'm here, and this is Lori Lamantia, and I'm with Tricia Fiske.
Good morning.
Hey, everyone. And we wanted to talk today about the concept of armoring, where you put up shields or armor yourself against the world. As a part of my work that I've been doing around this receiving workshop that I participated in, I realized that I have a lot of unconscious, subconscious strategies that I use to protect myself and to keep myself safe. And so, and I do feel how those are really that they're filtering the way abundance comes to me and the way I agree to abundance. And so one of the things we were thinking about today that Tricia and I wanted to talk to you all about was about this concept of armoring up and putting up the shields that we use as a part of life to get along in life, of course, but also how they impact our lives. And so I thought I'd start. Trish, why don't you start with how you look at armoring and how you would define it?
Right. Armoring to me is a defense that I put up to prevent myself from being hurt because of being hurt. Something happens, and so in order to protect myself, and I'm saying that in quotes, I have some kind of armoring. And the issue with that is that as soon as I put up an armor, I'm blocking flow of energy.
Right.
Right. My mind is telling me that this is going to prevent me from being hurt or whatever. But the reality is, it means I'm blocking positive things that can come as well, because how do I know something is positive or negative until after it happens, right?
And even then, it's probably the perfect thing. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it. And
right. So is well, think of what an armor actually is. It prevents a lot from coming into you.
Right. I keep
So,
seeing like a knight in shining armor,
right.
it's like a whole body, suit. And
Yeah.
and it is over time we've created this whole body protection suit. And depending on how hurt you felt or how impacted you were, your armor could be super duper thick and super limiting. And that there's no judgment about that, right? We
Right.
don't hold any judgment at all. It's just awareness and understanding. So, and for space to choice, for new choicing, if you want. But a part of it is making it conscious. And I think, one of the things we were talking about before we started is a lot of our armoring is unconscious. We
Right.
don't even know we're doing it.
Right.
One of the things I was thinking, quote unquote, was how, the intelligence, our society, and I'll speak for myself too, I always thought being really smart and really intellectual was such an important thing, and I still do. But I also use my intelligence as an armor. I'm able to think things through and limit really quickly so that stuff doesn't penetrate. But one of the ways I've seen it used, I use it against myself, interestingly, is, trying to find the right answer, because I think there is one right answer, an optimal answer. And then my mind just spends all this time scenarioing and and all this over intellectualization. It just sucks my energy, and it smallifies and smallifies. And, we know life is what it is. Finding the right answer is, after, fifth grade, is next to impossible. Everything isn't a math problem that 2 and 2 equals 4. And
Right.
so I was just fascinated to even realize that my intellectualization or this, this search for the right answer is, to me, a form of armoring. It's a form of me protecting myself from rejection or disappointment or being told, you blew it, Laura, you made a mistake. Oh, okay, well, fine. I don't want to be told that I was stupid or whatever. So I'm going to be the smartest person in the room, right? And I'm going to over intellectualize. And
well, it makes an assumption that there's a right answer and a wrong answer.
Right.
And you've got a right answer. So we made it a dualistic issue. Instead of, there could be 5 great answers that would all lead you in different directions. Yeah. So it does, it becomes very limiting. The minute we make something black or white, there's a right answer and a wrong answer, a good answer and a bad answer.
Right.
We've limited possibilities.
Totally. And the possibilities are, in my mind, abundance. One of the beautiful thing about abundance consciousness is the so many possibilities, the so many options, the ability for that unlimited in wisdom to come to us and help us in every way, not just one way. So as soon as we're looking for the right answer, and I'm not, this isn't an always thing, but it does kind of limit all the wonderful options that could be there. And
Right.
And we
Because
tend to pick the stuff we're used to too, the stuff we know
again,
works.
assuming there's a wrong answer. So you've gone right into dualism.
Right. Totally. Right. Look at me just saying, right. Yeah, right. Yes. um, Exactly. And one of the things that we're trying to tease out here with our conversations is the flow of options. The place of abundance consciousness does help us lift, let's say, from this dualistic right wrong into the possibility mode. And then you know that any option you pick, it's the one that feels the best in the moment. And then the next moment you might pick a different one. And then we let go of the shame and the guilt and all the things that come along with trying to find the right answer or protect ourselves into, wow, I took that step. That was a step that felt good then. Now I'm going to take this one. And it's a much more flowy experience in my from what I've sensed
Right.
and
Right.
lived. And one of the things we said last week, we were going to talk about, well, when do we armor? Why do we armor? How do we armor? Those are real questions. I think we have to check in with ourselves, and it's, again, a very personal journey. When do you armor? Why do you armor? And how do you? We all do it very differently. I just told mine when I feel like I'm, might be exposed. How over intellectualization? Why? Because I'm trying to protect myself from rejection, and then or hurt or disappointment, mostly disappointment. I find it interesting, but it's mostly around disappointment. And so therefore, what grace am I going to give myself in this moment so that I switch into my abundance consciousness and say, hey, maybe it's different than it used to be when I was 7.
I find I use armor a lot for emotional stuff, to not get hurt by somebody, or I'm going to be very specific here. I have a sister who's very sick, and I don't always agree with the healthcare choices that she's making. And it's her body, her life, she has every right to do that for herself. But I find myself armoring myself to not get hurt when her choices aren't bringing her the 100% result she wants. And it doesn't help. It really doesn't help. It helps more to be hurt and to be sad and then just look at the choices that I want to make for myself. What choices do I want to make for myself? And let's think about that now while I'm healthy.
Right.
Yeah, things like that.
Oh, that felt so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that because I, yeah, when you see somebody choosing something, you armor up, and then it creates distance. It creates, maybe a little bit of judgment, a little bit, a lot of separation. And I felt that inside of my body too, where I don't know, I don't want that So you resist it and you push against it, but that wisdom that you just said about, yeah, just feeling sad because you see this, or, the genuine feelings that come up. And then, not trying to resist those either. And then that wisdom to say, well, what do I choose for me? That's
Right,
the best I can do. And that's the only thing I really need to focus on is being respectful of me while I'm being respectful of her choices too.
right.
Yeah. Wow. That was really brilliant. And not being scared to have the emotion of sadness or confusion or anger, those are all okay too.
Right. And they're necessary when you're watching somebody suffer or
Yeah.
go through painful. That compassion can only come from authentic feeling.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So to armor up against those isn't very helpful to them either, as well as
No.
not
Right.
ourselves.
Yeah.
And I don't think, and this is the interesting thing about armoring, because I think we do it very naturally. It's part of the thing we do as human beings to learn how to get along in the world. But I don't think we realize the impact that it's having on the long term. You armor up now and you think, oh, well, this is just for now. But I think it has residual lasting effects in that, and like you said, as we talked about it, it becomes unconscious. So it becomes how we look at the world, it becomes how we interact with the world. And weirdly, it becomes how we structure the world too to return back to us.
Right. Yes, it does. But it's right. And that becomes our mode of operation. Not even we don't even think about it as such. It's
Right.
just we automatically do it and
Right.
stay with that patterning.
It
Yeah.
becomes a pattern and patterning. And again, not to make any of this right or wrong. It's just we're having this conversation for awareness purposes. Because I do think that things come up in our lives and we're like, oh, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Why is this here now? And what is there some gift that it's trying to show me? What is there um some learning or upgrade? I'll call it an upgrade. What is there some upgrade or new choice I want to avail to myself? And when you're
Mhm.
just running through life as out of a habit, you're not really all those good, juicy abundance opportunities they bounce off, and the opportunity to open up to more bounces off too. If we've said anything clearly over the course of this whole podcast, it's been that, right? So, and it's weird because the next question I would ask if I was a listener is, okay, well, what do I do? What do I do about the armoring? I've seen it. Now what?
Well, I would say it's that thing about be curious. Be curious about decisions you're making, choices you're making, asking yourself, where is that coming from? What if? What if? That my immediate thought is I should do A. What if I did B? What if I did C? What if I did D, which was totally different? Allowing yourself to just kind of play with different scenarios and just be curious about how you react, how you feel. I mean, I think that's so important. And I know we've talked about that too. Be curious without any self judgment. Allow
Right.
yourself to watch yourself process through this stuff, and you'll learn a lot. if you're able to stay in Tantra, we call it the observer mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's the witness consciousness. So I'm allowing my mind to run, but I'm stepping back to observe it rather than immerse myself in it.
Right. Yeah, observe with a little bit of detachment. I think the
Yes.
detachment word is a really good one because it gives you a little bit of objectivity to say, oh, what if this wasn't me? Or what if I didn't run that same scenario or that habit over and over? It does open up the door for possibility or an unexpected, well, why don't I try that? Or that feels good, or ooh, maybe. You know, so yes, the curiosity, and I love that, the witnessing with a little bit of a detachment or a lot of detachment,
Whatever you can, whatever you
whatever you can
can.
muster. And that's why I do love, that's why a lot of times you go to a counselor, you go to an outside friend or a source because they have detachment, naturally. They're not in the middle of something. So sometimes it does help to, talk to a friend, or if you can't get that detachment because they don't have the same, you know, deep dive into this to whatever energy you're dealing with that, and they have the natural detachment, which I think is really valuable because it does give perspective.
Mhm.
And, and sometimes perspective with respect to armoring is one of the best things you could give yourself is a little bit of detachment, some space, so that you can see the armoring and make a fresh choice.
Absolutely. Right. And there's, I know there are many meditations that help to find this witness consciousness, stepping back a little bit. And, right. And from there, of course, like with any meditation, when you do it more frequently and more often, it becomes easier to find that space because that becomes a familiar space, right?
Right, right. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then right, and then just again that curiosity, but of looking at the situation with a what if instead of a this is so, this is it, this is truth.
Right. Truth according to, yeah, what your old habits are.
Right,
My one teacher says, and and he says, pull out your magic wand. And I love the magic wand idea because, and even if you just swirl your arm around over and over during the day and go, I'm pulling out my magic wand and I bippity boppity boo that. There is something about practice, like you said, a mantra. That's when you said meditation and under these, I was like, oh, that's where you pull out your magic wand and go, whoosh, swirl. I want to see something different, or I'm open to a new possibility here. And as soon as you open the door a crack, even a smidge, just a bit, and that's what you're saying about take a breath or, go to the witness conscious. You have done a huge amount, an amazing thing. You didn't get swept away, and don't, what I guess what I'm feeling is, and don't diminish that. That is an amazing thing to be able to give yourself. If
right,
you do that even now and again, you have done an amazing practice because in that crack makes space, and space brings forth more of the possibilities that we're talking about.
right.
So finding
That
a way to give yourself that.
right. That's the crack in the armoring. Right.
Yes, right. And we're not talking about getting rid of all your armor, right? We're just talking about not a full on, right. Well, at some point, yeah, you'd love it because then you are walking as a full on, you're just, in grace as grace with grace. It's a beautiful thing. Um, and you could still play with finding cracks in the armor. I was just at this museum, I was at the Field Museum, and they have all these armors. I don't know if you've seen some of them. They've even got feet. They've got faces. They armor the elbows. And I mean, those things, I don't know how people even walked around in them. It's like, oh my gosh. But some of us have that extensive an armor system. Our heads are covered, our face, our lips, our eyes, our shoulders, our back, even our feet and toes. And all we're talking about is a smidge of a crack anywhere in there. It helps move the energy, move into possibility, move into I'll call it the abundance consciousness that I think we're really, if you're listening to this talk, you're really about, or at least you want to be about, let's say.
Right.
What about, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. Remember, infinite potential. Infinite potential can't come from being armored.
And who we really are is infinite potential. It's not armored. We've learned these armor experiences as humans. Who we are at our core is not armored. It can't be. And
Right.
and I think as we are journeying, and I know through our yogic journey, I mean, that's the message all along. Your infinite potential doesn't armor. It doesn't know how to armor. That's not the way it lives. When it comes here, it experiences armoring through, what we do as becoming humans and learning how to live on Earth. But that perspective of non-armoring is always available to us. The infinite potential of what could be is always available to us. And it doesn't have to be giant, everyone. It's not, save the world kind of stuff. It's, I feel like using the refrigerator now instead of the stove. It's simple, simple, grace moments every second of every day. There's a little bit of possibility that just gives us that vitality. And to me, that's where armoring cuts off the vitality. And that's why I think it's so important. We're so busy protecting that we're shutting down the vitality. And as we grow older and we live more, we see more, we armor more. That's why we look at kids and they're dancing around. They're not worried. They're not armored up yet.
Oh, no. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to use a metaphor as simple as, because it's this time of the year and corn on the cob right now. If you go to the farmer's market and you get corn on the cob, and I've been advised that the longer corn sits in the husk, the more it just gets starchier.
Yeah, starchier.
Yeah, so you should, right. So you get that corn home, you husk it, and you make that corn salad like right away. Really, don't wait 2 to 4 days. I mean, get the armor off of it while it's the sweetest and the best and the fresh.
Right. Yes.
And this example is coming to me, of course, because I have corn that I just got from the farmer's market, and I was like, oh, do I really feel like husking it? It's like, get out there and take that.
Yes, I wanted it's the sweetest, peakest. Yes.
Right.
That's what we wish for all of us, right? We want us at our sweetest, peakest,
Yes.
and anything that is gonna, that's covering up that sweetest and this peakest, then let's just consider husking it. Let's consider peeling it off, or at least look at it and say, do I?
Yeah. Right. ASAP. Don't put it off.
Right. Yes, absolutely. So I hope people are feeling what we're trying to talk about here with the armoring. Not that it's bad, but that it's a coping mechanism that we've created over time, and it becomes habitual, and it becomes so much of who we are that we might become unconscious to it. But things in life come up to help us go, oh, like you said, I'm curious now, is there a different way? Is there a way that might be calling me that is more aliving, is more part of this possibility, and would make me feel like, wow, that could be fun, or I would like that, or that makes me feel free. All those are legitimate cracks in the armor.
Absolutely. armoring creates limits.
Mhm.
Getting armor off allows you to be limitless.
Yes, bingo. Well said. So let's end with that. Say
Okay.
that again. Say it one more time for us, lady girly. Give it to us.
Armoring creates limits, and taking that armor off allows you to be unlimited, limitless.
Yes. So for everyone listening, we wish you a tremendous week of, and just notice, just a little bit of noticing, where might I be armoring? Where might I be limiting? Where am I protecting myself in a way that I might be curious about, and see if there's other possibilities? And I think don't limit yourself and thinking about what armoring is. Say, I'm open to seeing it and noticing it, and then making a new choice about it if I want.
If you want, right.
If you want. Have a great week, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.